What in God's green earth do we have here? You can see old, looks old and crappily installed. New. I already know the secret behind this. What the hell is that for? And what is all this going on? Why is there a green light on but nothing's running? So, the short answer is, I put most of this together about 4.5 years ago. What this started off with was a unknown, rebuilt 5-horse, we think it's a 5-horse pump, really don't know, 3-inch suction by 2-inch, and the story goes, that's how I got into it, they were, and this is a lake out here, this is a Lake Steilacoom out here, and this is our suction line going this way, this is actually a discharge going down, and anyway. So the story goes, customer has a company put in new landscape, and they had a huge suction line leak. And so they couldn't get this thing to prime. They had the hose boot hooked up, and at a certain point, somebody bumped the hose and somebody got scalded. Now, the reason they couldn't get it prime was they had a huge suction line leak. The reason I got involved with this is that this has 7 zones. It's a pretty low flow. We're talking about like maybe 10 gallons per minute in most cases. So this pump was pretty big. So what we have here, what I put in was a recirculation loop. So at the time, first version of this, mind you, this used to discharge in here, and then we have a solenoid valve with a PRV. So recirculation loop. That way this pump can run at a constant speed, and then we don't, deadhead to the point it falls off its curve. So it's always moving enough water. That was kind of a big way of thinking. And then we have a pressure switch. So again, rather than have this is a closed, open. I guess that'd be the same. Or I guess it'd be open, closed, open. So at low pressure, the switch it falls down and it closes. It runs up to the high end and then opens again, then it falls down until it basically closes again. But anyway, point being that on Monroe's, they just have a pressure switch like 20 psi, as long as the pump builds 20 psi, like on their smart boxes, then the pump will stay running. Falls below 20, it shuts off. Anyway, so this was from when I was doing this back then. We have a pressure gauge. Looks like it zeroes out. That's good. And so the way this recirculation loop worked was pump would start, and a build pressure, and then the PRV would set, then the solenoid valve would open and discharge whatever amount of pressure. I learned this from working on a pot grower that we custom built some stuff, so like variable displacement pumps when they were switching between freshwater and nutrient water. I don't really do things like this anymore. As long as it pumps and it's, as long as it has a smart box, I'm less worried about it, put it that way. So, next thing that happened, this pump, even when we went to the lowest flow nozzles we could not create enough head to accurately or adequately water, not accurately. So what we ended up doing a couple years later, this was now 2023, after this thing had run and we'd got a lot of kinks worked out of the system, was we put a Davey, these were new old stock Speedman compacts, so it's got a VFD controller, hence the outlet, very weird outlet. That was hard to order. I had to order one through our supplier Platt. Anyway, so Australian company, they wind their own motors. I thought, great. Now, I wouldn't do this necessarily again this way because these would be great for like boosted potable applications, clean water, but if you have any kind of debris, I'm a little bit more concerned you could plug up the impellers. They're really small impellers, and so this is the evolution of my knowledge and an application of certain things. So we plumbed it in series. Now, the only problem we had was that this pump will basically sit there and wait, and it will try and maintain a constant pressure. The problem is this needs to add on to that. So this basically set pressure basically needs to be the output of this. So we have it on a time delay relay, so that when this pump runs, when this pump starts, you give about, say, 30 seconds to a minute, and then when it comes up to pressure, then this pump starts and it activates via a time delay relay, and then it basically follows the set point pressure that we have. So, and then we had to plumb it in series. So let's get into control side things. This control box, old ESP, ME, whatever, it basically plugs into the wall. that gives us 24 volts in here. And so this relay is coming from our controller, and so this basically does, basically tells this cabinet to start everything. So they're separate systems. We do have a toggle switch on the side. Well, actually, it's not a toggle switch, that's a push button, but basically allows you to have basically hand control over these pumps without the controller. I don't know if I can open this or not. There we have our ABB contactor for the 5 horse pump. Nothing too crazy. This had a 240 volt contactor. The coil is 240 volts, so it's like self-energizing, kind of like a lot of Monroe smart box applications. That did not work well for us, so we had to put a new contactor in it, which we use the same enclosure. So I think what's left that works in this, because we have the bypass loop pressure switch, and then we have a time delay relay for this. I think one of these time delay relays we moved over, and it basically starts the second pump and basically tells it to start running. I don't remember. This was 4 years ago, so this thing is pretty crazy looking, and I honestly don't really like it, but it has served its purpose. Drain plugs in here. So it works. It works well. This was the first time I put 2 pumps in series. A couple people have told me I should have. Why would you put the bigger pump second? Or excuse me, why would you put the smaller pump second? And well, because my mind is, I want to feed this pump. I want to feed the smaller pump with the bigger pump. That way, I don't end up MPSH net product suction head. I want to keep positive pressure on the inlet of this pump. So, but it's worked. It's worked well. We haven't had any problems, and this is kind of like making chicken soup out of chicken bones. If I was going to do this all over again, I would, actually mount this pump and not just fix it as it lays. I would have had, whatever. It's in the past. It works. We maintain it. So, there you go.